Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mystical Awakenings. We're so happy to be here. Happy Thursday. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever it is, wherever you're at, because what is time but an illusion? So we're really happy to be here and really excited that we have a dear, wonderful friend with us. And I'll let RJ tell you a little bit about him before we bring him on.
Anybody in the ufology field should know this fine gentleman. He's a great friend of ours. He is an author. He is a minister. He has 3 wonderful books entitled Alien Scriptures, Extraterrestrials in the Holy Bible, The New World, If You Can Take It, God, Extraterrestrials, and the Evolution of Human Consciousness, and Initiation is his last book. The Spiritual Transformation of the Experiencers. So he's also, like I said, a great friend of ours. We invited him to the Michigan UFO Contact Convention last year, and he was an overnight hit sensation with everybody, including us. And he will be back again this year. And probably he has an open invitation any year when he wants to go there. So just a wonderful human being, a great friend. It's an honor to introduce Reverend Michael Carter. Hi,
Yay.
Michael.
Devin, RJ, hey. I'm wondering, I said, who's this man talking about? I appreciate it. And, it's reciprocal. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you for
I just
being
got back,
here.
I went to see my mom and everything. So,
Yeah.
You've had a busy
we
week.
talk about that. She's hanging in,
Yeah.
Parents getting older, my dad too.
Yeah. We do that, right? We're following up just behind him, aren't we?
Yeah. He's got to get surgery at the end of the month, but just for some cataracts. But
yeah,
it's I love them, and I'd be there for them as much as I can.
Yeah, that's all you can.
But
do.
I'm also being here for you, and I'm glad to be here. I started to take a nap, but I was too wound up, so I'll do that later. I'll take a nap.
We did, and
before I go to sleep. Yeah,
we did. We took a little nap because we had to be up very early this morning and run around everywhere. And so
I'm telling you, man, time is boom, boom, boom. I mean, it is June. We're a week into June already.
I know.
I remember Christmas like it was like that, and we're getting a little bit of the smog and stuff. I'm sure you are too. So
yeah, we had that. Last few days it's cleared. I think they got it finally out, the fires here.
Yeah, that's good news. I think we need some rain or something, but it'll be okay.
Oh man,
we need rain. I mean, terrible.
They go through this all the time out west, so it's like welcome to their world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, out there it is.
Arizona,
early in the year.
Vegas, California.
Yeah.
This just happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, again, this was due to somebody had a like I say, that had a fire.
Well, here, about 20 miles away, we had quite the wildfire.
Yeah.
From somebody having a campfire, and it's been posted all over the place.
Don't start.
No burning.
Yep.
We're in extreme high danger right now.
Same here, and we had wind. It was windy today, and we had them a couple summers ago. One of them was someone lit a match or something. But see, the thing about out west, they can just happen because it's so dry.
Right.
It's not like someone lit a cigarette and that was it. So it's just not good. And it's and the climate is already screwed up. But hey, it's all good.
It's all good.
Now, with this hour, usually with you goes by very quickly, so we can get into we're going to talk about whistleblowers and disclosure because a lot's been happening.
I know.
And you've been sending us a lot of clips.
Just stuff I've heard. I mean, I know some people who know some people, and so I don't claim it, but it's from reliable sources. But I want to approach it from the metaphysical first, and you guys know this stuff inside and out, and Mother Mary and Bill and everyone. What you focus on, you create. But there has been this change of consciousness, obviously, for these 70 years or so, where, yes, there have been people who want to keep the status quo, But there's also been a lot of people, ourselves included, who have said, we want this to happen. What can we do to make it happen? It's been, in the forefront. And so see the shifts. And nothing's perfect, but or no one is perfect, but we're starting to see the results of this stuff, of this visualization, of this sending out the energy, of this, what we need to know. And I think we have to continue that. And I think folks will.
Right.
And then there's the side that they may be into metaphysics too in a different kind of way, but there are people who want to keep the status quo because, they're at the top of the chain. There's always some money involved, those kinds of things. And so here we have this kind of tug of war. Are we going to go down maybe a little more spiritual path, a path of less competition and maybe cooperation, maybe more of a visionary kind of where do we want to be? And then it's folks who will play on people's fears and give you just enough truth, but they'll jumble it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's where we are now.
Right.
I try to connect dots. And sometimes that's my fault because sometimes, Michael, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. But I remember I'm saying this came out with Brother Grosh, hope I'm pronouncing his name correct, or Grosh or Grosh. And, he's kind of coming out with what Brother Elizondo was coming out with, but they both work for intelligence. Right. And so I don't break out the champagne yet because they tell you, that this is true and what you've been working on and visualizing is true, but then they throw in the national security piece. Now, I'm not saying that they're beings that there's no threat. What I am saying is if that's the first thing you put out there you go. And so I don't trust my government. I never have. And part of that's me, the old James Baldwin thing. How can I believe what you say when I see what you do? We've got a great country. It's still a great country. Yeah. But if we want to stay great, we got to be a little more transparent. We got to, you know what I'm saying? Yes, and some of that stuff's above my pay grade. But I'm just saying you're as sick as your secrets.
Yeah.
But so, this comes out seemingly out of the blue. Then Greer, I just felt, you're intuitive, you're sensitive. I just felt that this was like a race to get this out. Now, Greer's having his thing on the 11th. I think it's from 9 to 11th or 10. So it's a couple days. So then there's these emails going around. And, we know there's a lot of egos, in the community. You know how it is.
Right.
But then you have Dr. Greer saying that Brother Grosh is one of the people that's been informing him of this stuff. And then you have Grosh saying, don't use me as part of your agenda. I don't know what you're talking about. And so it's this little bickering and infight. It muddies the waters.
Right.
It muddies
the tension.
Yeah, it muddies the waters. And for me, when people say I'm not with intelligence anymore, I never believe that. It's like retiring from the mafia. You never do.
Right.
You never do. You can't.
No.
And so I'm not breaking out the champagne yet, but I am. I'm pleasantly surprised. I think that, because Dr. Greer, whether, his ego now and he's changed a bit or however you want to phrase it or not, he has moved the needle. And I think we should give him his flowers for that.
Yeah.
However, I brought out the old standard, his disclosure book. And, when I hear Brother Elizondo and Brother Mellon and now this brother, when they go immediately, didn't take him long, because my mom and I were listening to it and my wife, and then a friend of mine said he heard it. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that there are no dark forces there. But but now the narrative is with the military. They're controlling the narrative, what you should call them, and then when you say that some of them are dangerous, I get it. But people, that automatically puts fear out there because there are people like you and me and others who haven't had that negative thing. Or if we have, we worked through it. Right. And then I go back, I brought this out because Dr. Rosen wrote this back in 2000 in Brother Greer's disclosure about Werner von Braun and what he told her would be the last card. And this was in this, he was talking about that they planned this in the 70s. But he talked about, and I'm quoting, it's on page 256, the strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered the enemy, which they still are. In fact, in 1974, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. Then terrorists would be identified, okay? The next enemy was asteroids, which still are.
Yeah.
And then he said the last would be aliens or extraterrestrials. That would be the final scare. And we're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens, and all of it, his words, I don't like that, and all of it is a lie. All of it is a lie. And this is where I feel that we are going, you and I are going to live to see this, that because to come out in front of the narrative, because no lie lives forever, right? That's what, it was either Nietzsche or Goethe who said that. And so, I think powers that be see that we're slipping here. We can't keep a lid on this thing. But then what do? You start to control the narrative. Well, they're UAPs.
Yeah.
They're not UFOs anymore. and now we got these people, these scientists, these military people. So it takes away the narrative from you.
I still like flying saucers, by the way.
Yeah. Well, who was it? Was it Daniel Sheehan? I read the other day says he's not using UAPs because he doesn't feel like it captures the entire experience.
Right.
So, it's and I'm looking geopolitically how this plays out because Russia and China and other NATO, they have discs and they need the technology, and you wonder where all this money is going. We're going to defense, but I think it's to fund these projects. And so on one part of me is like, okay, you come out with it, got it. But when you always go back to national security, and then I'm thinking, okay, to control the narrative, then we can protect you. You need to be afraid of them, but we're researching this and we're finding out and we'll let you know. And that takes away the narrative.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So think of this. I mean, if you're the one in control here, billions and billions of dollars in control, you make the rules. It's a threat when somebody outside comes in, is going to bring you free energy. It's going to bring you health. Yes. It's going to bring you these things. And so the narrative from them is going to be, oh, these guys are not good. Yeah. And that's what they're.
That's what Greer and Stanton Friedman and people like us have been talking about. Yeah. It's just as clear as day. But no, you're right. And so, okay. And that's what I was thinking. It almost seemed coordinated. Okay, Brother Grosh, forgive me, I keep messing up his name. Comes out. Stephen Greer is going to come out probably tomorrow with something. Then the other day in Las Vegas. Now this has been investigated for a month, but all of a sudden it came out yesterday. You've heard about it, right? When this family saw something crash, and then they said they saw some beings. They were very tall, and I'm like, there are no accidents, as Einstein says and quantum physics tells us, but it seemed choreographed.
Yeah, right.
It seemed that this was choreographed again, like the balloons, to get reactions, to see how people would react. Mm-hmm. So I was talking to RJ Deb, and I was talking to Deb Cobble, who's obviously going to be with us in September. And she said the same thing. We were texting. She said, something feels manipulative about this. She said, so I'm going to step back. And I sent her the thing with Greer and with this brother. And she said, I'm just going to step back and just see how it plays out, which is the only thing we can do.
Right. Exactly. That's really the only thing we can do. But don't you feel that, the government and Stephen Greer and David and all these people are saying, okay, this is it. It's like they want to bring disclosure or want to take credit for disclosure and control how it's done. But really, bottom line, and we've talked about this for a while, is disclosure is the people, the experiencers, all of the people that are opening up and talking about truth.
I agree, Deb. I agree, but I think there's more layers to it than that.
Oh yeah,
you see, and so and we don't exist in a vacuum. Right. These folks are going to be making decisions over already are over our lives and how this is going to be perceived. And so, yes, on one level, yeah, it's like government for the people, by the people. That works on paper, but we don't have that.
Right.
We don't have that. And so
but what I'm just saying that we don't need them to tell us that this exists, but they are taking control. They're doing this. It's all about control.
Yes, I agree. So. Yes.
I think his name is Gresh.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Gresh. I just wanted to put that out there. So.
We
got Greer and Gresh. It's kind of I was confused.
Well, I was going to say Richard Gere at one point. I had to take my medication. But so again, it's a double-edged sword. Mm-hmm. I'm happy that this is coming out because that's what intelligence agent. That's what they do. They give you just enough truth to make it plausible.
Yeah.
And they make it because I don't know whether this brother knows Greer or Greer knows him, Grush. But when they start bickering in public, that benefits no one. Right. And it keeps the community confused. Yeah. And that's what misinformation and disinformation does. But there's always, it's like stereotypes. Stereotypes always have an element of truth in them. And that's why people can hook to them.
Yeah.
But they wind up just holding that little element and they forget that, wait a minute, this is really not true all the time. Well, it's the same thing in intelligence and in psyops and things like that. We'll give you just enough, but we'll keep it muddy enough and it keeps you off balance.
Exactly.
I was happy. I am happy. I was smiling that this is out. Yeah. And we'll see what the powers that be do with it. It'll be investigations. And, only so much is going to be let out and what have you. And I think this is why we're hearing of these things because you can't keep a lid on it now.
No, you can't.
Right.
I think that's what's going on. I kind of think that there's maybe a prime directive, at some point on the planet, but at some point as it evolves, they show up more and more, and there's no way of getting around it. So many people see it now.
There's really, it's out there.
Yeah.
I was talking to you about the guy Marshall Summers, he with Allies of Humanity.
Yeah.
And I bought a book a couple years ago and I was still intrigued. I went back and revisited it. And he's, again, I guess it's what you focus on. He's saying the Allies are, they're allies. They can't really disclose who they are. They are off-world intelligences. But this brother Summers, Marshall, it's like he's the cult leader. He's the only one who can access to this information. The point I'm trying to make, and he seems to be, because the allies seem to be, and he can't tell you who they are, whatever, they seem to be concerned about less, denser energies, for lack of a better word.
Right.
And he does make a good point. He does say that, because people say, well, if they want, and I was one of those people, well, if they wanted to have taken us over, they could have by now, which on one level, that's true, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy is saying that the Allies are telling him that these people have done the same thing on their planet, or they've screwed their planet up like we were doing ours. Yeah. But they're saying, no, they don't want to take over your planet. It's beautiful. It has resources. Why would they destroy it? Then they couldn't get what they wanted. And, and it does make some sense. I'm not saying it doesn't. And I know that everybody's not going to hold hand and sing Imagine or Kumbaya. However, having said that, it was, it's where you're going to focus your energies. And there's both of us. When Bud was alive, when Bud was first getting into it, he didn't see any good that could come out. Bud Hopkins, I'm talking about.
Right.
And then John Mack was on the other side, which is where I was. Yeah, but the truth is always in the middle, as the Buddhists say.
Right.
And so, yes, there are darker forces. There's an old saying, a pickpocket can walk and will see a saint, and all he or she will see is pockets. If you're a cop and you're looking at people, all you see is a criminal. If you are in charge of national security, all you see are threats. But in order to change the way our world is, we got to stop looking at it in just that way.
Yes.
And that's where my concern is. Yeah, you can make anybody an enemy if you want to see it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true.
Great point. And it's so true of many things that have happened on this planet. People just are tunnel vision, and they are influenced, and they see it that way, and they can't see outside of it. So
it's hard because we're taught not to see it. I mean, I was thinking about the so-called Grenada Treaty, with Eisenhower and this group of gray beings. Some people don't believe it happened. I kind of think there's enough smoke there to see there's a fire. But again, it's this. And I don't know what decision I would have made, but here you have the President of the United States. We're the biggest people on the block now. We just won World War II. We got this atomic bomb. Nobody else has it by that point. And here you have these beings. The first beings were supposed to be more humanoid, Nordic-looking people, and they say you got to dial it back. You're playing with fire. We can exchange your atomic energy. You got to get rid of that, and we will show you how to grow spiritually. And he says, I can't do that. That's not the world I live in. And then you have the rest of the story. But that's what you and I and everybody we do every day.
Right.
Do I go the spiritual path? Or do I do the materialistic, fearful path? I know what's going to happen. And so I looked at that with Eisenhower. I don't know what I would have done, but that's on a spiritual level. That's what we have to do every day. Do I go with fear and the materialism, and do I go down this road, which I'm always going to have to be on my guard, or do I go to this? Maybe when I'm ready spiritually, I can handle these energies, but right now I can't.
And Michael, I want to emphasize this, because this is how I feel, that the president, we give him a lot of power. I don't think he has that much. He's still influenced by the people that control. And if they told him, no, this is not going to happen, because we talked about it just earlier about it would be a threat to them. I mean, he might have been influenced too. I mean, it might have not been what he wanted to do, but we have to take into account that he might have been told what to say, and it's sad, but
no question. I'm just saying, even if that's true, they said we want to meet these intelligence said we want to meet the most powerful person on the planet.
Right.
Now, they're smart people. They could take into consideration that that it's not as simple as that, but they maybe have been hoping that maybe there was some courage there to do that.
Yeah.
Like in the 11th Green.
Yeah.
That wonderful movie.
It's awesome.
I don't want to beat up on Eisenhower, and I'm not trying to. That's why I said I don't know what I would have, but that's how we got here. 70 years that, he lost control of it. That's why he said, beware the military industrial complex. He knew the president doesn't have all the power. Kennedy went and found out the hard way too around this issue. Yeah. So, but knowing those things can shed light on how we got here 75 years later, because it's still going on. Roswell, balloons. A couple months ago, balloons. Okay, it's almost,
with little things hanging from them.
Yeah, history repeats itself. Let me see how they're going to react to this.
Yeah.
And now we have a police officer in Vegas whose body cam is showing a blue anomaly in the sky coming down. Yeah. And then they get a call with
9 foot extraterrestrials.
9 foot beings with big eyes.
They came out of the ship.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's there's so much. It's continuous anymore.
It is.
It used to be when we were younger, if you picked up a newspaper and read something about a UFO, it was like, oh my God, kind of shocking.
Right. Yeah.
And now it's so common that people don't even hear it anymore.
There's little
and they're not worried about it. They're not. So this fear factor that we're being told, yes, there'll be people who jump off of buildings, and there'll be people who will, lose everything because the stock market and all that. Yeah. But that's always going to be. I want to go back to the Allies of Humanity. One of the other things I do agree with them about, and this will be no surprise to you, is what they're saying is that whatever your spirituality is, you need to be practicing it.
Right.
It's they're not giving you any secrets or formulas. They're saying because as more and more as disclosure comes, as more and more information comes out of left field, it seems, if you are not grounded in your sense of who you are and what you're connected to, you will be a mess, because every new thing that comes, you will be like a bottle in the ocean. You'll be everywhere. And I like that because, even these beings, some of them, they do stress a spiritual connection with all that is. That's the primary thing that's being stressed here, not the technology, not the back engineering, but who are you? What's your point? Those types of things. And I still think that that's what this whole, and that's what John Mack had come to, that's what this whole phenomenon is about. If you want to go into, like you say, RJ, the next dimension, you can't, back engineering a down craft is not going to take you there.
No.
The transformation that you have will help get you there. Because a lot of these beings are highly, highly advanced.
Yeah, higher frequency, higher everything.
Yeah, not all,
no,
but a lot of them. And it comes back to what road do you take?
Yeah. Somebody has a question here. Let's see.
I don't know if Bill can put it up on the screen.
Candace question. What was Valiant Thor's purpose? Do you remember?
Yeah, that's Dr. Strange.
Yeah.
Dr. Strange's. I don't know what his purpose was. I'm sure it was, if it happened, the jury is still out.
Right.
But if it did happen, I'm sure if you want to change consciousness, if you want to elevate, you go to your leaders.
Yeah.
And if he was in the Pentagon and the White House, he was probably trying to change some minds about some things, about how to look at existence, how to look at what's real. But Val, you could say the same thing about Buddha?
Right.
What was Buddha's purpose? What was Lao Tzu's purpose? What was Yeshua's purpose?
Right.
To change consciousness.
Yeah.
To try to steer us into a more civilized way, a more loving way, at least a more understanding of who we are, how we got here, how we need to treat each other. That's what I would say his purpose was, but I don't know, because I don't know if it really happened.
Yeah, and if you don't know who he is, it was supposedly an extraterrestrial that showed up.
Oh no, I know who he is.
I mean, I'm talking about our audience.
Yes, tell them. Yes,
he was an extraterrestrial that showed up, looked just as human as you and I, and supposedly, and he went to Congress and he went to saying, "Look, you guys." I think one of the things he was talking about, like what you were talking about, was we have these nuclear bombs, and, and every time we set them off and test them, it rips through the all these dimensions and really and messes up frequency. We have to quit playing with these things.
Yes.
And that was one of the things. So I'm not privy on this, but I just know what that was. I think one of the things he was talking about.
Yeah, it was. I mean, yes, that's what and here we are. Now that was in the 60s, was it not?
Yeah.
60s,
like Candace is saying during Eisenhower.
Maybe late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. And here we are having the same conversation. Not you and I as far as being back there, but this is where the world is. We haven't learned. Our leaders haven't learned. And it's closer to midnight now.
Yes.
It's close to midnight. I mean, this thing in over in Ukraine, we could be watching the beginning of World War III. We could. I mean, let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
And so even if there's not a nuclear exchange, let's say by accident or by sabotage, one of those reactors is hit, it's a mess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look at Chernobyl.
Yeah.
There's still.
So we're still playing this game.
Yeah.
And it's very serious. It's very serious.
There's all kinds of strange things that came out of Chernobyl that's still happening. I mean, weird, even weird creatures and weird things are happening and just strange things. Yeah.
I mean, so do I have hope? Yes, I have hope. I couldn't get up if I didn't.
Right.
And there are a lot of people who do. And at the same time, I know, because if you read the literature, if you read, the earth has been destroyed more than one time.
Yeah.
There's archaeology evidence that Sodom and Gomorrah was a nuclear thing. Obviously, the Vimanas, these nuclear things in the Mahabharata and in the the Vedas and the Upanishads. So it can happen. We know we've been hit by asteroids and that kind of thing. Yeah. So we could have an extinction event. Yeah. The only thing is we could really cause it ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's always a possibility. So what do? I'm glad you asked.
So what do?
You get up and you love your neighbor.
Yeah.
You get up and you treat people like you want to be treated. You get up and be the love, be the change you want to see in the world.
Right.
That's what you do.
Amen.
And that's good enough. Right. And if enough people did it, we'd be in a different place. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What matters is that we do it.
Right.
What matters is people we do it.
Yeah. The more people that do it, the better it'll be.
That's right. But what matters is that we do it. Mm-hmm. It's not sexy advice. It's not even a sexy suggestion, but that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Sometimes the simplest answers answer the most difficult questions.
Yeah. I mean, and that doesn't mean that, like I said, we're all going to hold hands and sing Imagine.
Yeah.
But we raise the frequency, and what we do now is preparing us for our next life.
Yeah.
So we could do all this stuff and we could get blown up and eviscerated, and that's the way it goes. But you still leave that legacy for where you want to go.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah.
So Bill is going to put up a little bit of that video with the whistleblower, just so people can see it, because this is not something that has been, mainstream media is not sharing this.
I know. And he's going to be on some news program Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bill, whenever you're ready, we don't have to see the whole thing, but someone.
Oh yeah, with Vargas. Miss Vargas.
Yes.
There's no sound.
Oh.
Well, the good news is if it doesn't work, they can find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
News Nation.
Might have to just post the link.
Oh.
Yeah, Bill, we're not getting any sound. I'm not sure what's going on. You are you hearing it, Michael?
No.
Okay.
Darn it. And it's really, really interesting. I mean, he is stating that not only do they have remains of craft,
but there's
non-human craft, but also bodies.
But they're also saying there's several different kinds of beings in the universe too.
And this is David Koresh.
Gresh.
Koresh. Yeah. See, Michael, you're not the only one that can't say that name.
And I was skimming it so fast that.
Yeah.
But see, to me, he's taking over what Elizondo was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He's taking it to another level. But remember, they all work for intelligence.
Yeah.
So they are being handled, and people are telling them they could not just come out and say this. Believe me, unless they had some permission from
Thank you, Bill. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is there is a lot more that we don't know.
I just get tired of. Let me be candid. I get tired of the fear. Again, I know that people are on different vibrations. I know that, and everybody's not, love and light. I get it, but that's the only thing they focus on, and I know that's by design. And when you talk about, as you said, Deb, that what about experiences? What about people who, just because I don't fly an F-16 doesn't mean that what I'm saying is not as important. And I can say there's some beings who are not about, but that conversation cannot be had.
Look at our special guest.
Hi and welcome, Bill.
We have a special guest tonight.
I have to jump in.
Please do.
First of all, even though this whistleblower came out, and this whistleblower can appear on a million podcasts, news shows, the bottom line is this has to be presented in front of a congressional hearing, okay?
Yeah.
The public has to see this and sworn, though people can perjure, face jail time. Here's the problem. Even in a public hearing, there's going to be no documents, because they're all, he even said they're classified. I cannot share these documents. He's not going to give out names, not in a public setting. And it's not like we're going to see images of a retrieved craft, because that's classified, or extraterrestrial bodies recovered, because that's classified. So the public's going to have a fit, because they're going to say, nothing new here. We're not getting any transparency. We're not getting any information. That's my concern, that this is just going to blow over like everything else because of lack of transparency. But unless they try to go through the right, proper channels of declassification, that could be a possibility. Now, I just want all of you and the listeners to just follow what I'm about to say. There are 4 possible scenarios going on in the person's rationale logically. 1, that all this does not exist. 2, that it does exist, that there may be a slow drip, 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 because eventually, if there is a disclosure, it would prepare the public more, rather than the third option, having something land, they don't know how to deal with it. It's in live TV being covered by the globe, and now everybody's scrambling. What the heck is going on? How are we going to handle this? And it causes panic, and it's going to be chaos.
Right.
It's going to be, you're going to have reactions of every kind, from social, religion. People are going to be violent. Who knows what's going to happen? How the military is going to be involved? How other countries?
Right.
And there may not be no disclosure at all, and it just stays the way it is. So we have to think about the impact that if this were to happen, even if I think it's better if it's a slow drip, 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 and prepare the public and then say, okay, we have evidence that this is going on, rather than the sudden, it's happening right now live, South America, they landed, it's being on camera, everything is going on, all hell's breaking loose. And then everybody has to respond to that. Governments have to respond, people have to respond. I think it's better to do it in a slow drip, drip, and prepare the masses.
Bill, I'm going to go back to Greer's disclosure with Carol Rosin. Here you have Werner von Braun, who knew where all the bodies were buried. I mean, he came over here with Operation Paperclip, and he has given us the blueprint. He has said this is the order in which this is happening. Yes, there's a few things, but he's already telling us the last. See what the equation that I'm concerned about. I'll sleep good tonight. Is that what's happening? Is this, to my mind, they give you just enough information, and they'll drip it out. But see, they're always going to put the fear thing in there. So they still control it. So if something happens that they can't explain away, they can still say, we told you, we weren't sure, but we didn't want it, but we told you. And ladies and gentlemen, these people are dangerous. And then there it is. And this is what Von Braun was talking about. Because look how much money. Do you see how much money, how many billions that the Defense Department just got again? Every year it goes up.
Money, no doubt.
And they're saying it's for Russia and China, but no. There and I'm sure some of it is. We're military. We have the militarization of space, which has always been going on. But that's where all this black budget money is coming from. Taxes sky high. What was it a couple weeks ago that because someone made some mistake where the decimal point went, that several $1 billion were gone? Did you hear about that?
Oh, yeah. The Pentagon.
So where's that money going? That money is going to the space program and these little overt and covert wars. I think Werner von Braun is right. I think that he knew where the bodies were buried, and he's telling us. And it has happened. First, we had to look out for Al Qaeda, and then we had Russia. I'm going out of order. Then it was Iraq and the terrorists. Now we got to get ready for this asteroid. And now we have, but don't you see how all this stuff is connected with the geopolitics? And they can always say, and it covers their butt.
There's no doubt, but you also.
We told you, but now be afraid.
But in this environment that we are in today, because of politics, that half the country is going to say false flag, deep state, cabal, conspiracy. That's coming. No matter what you do, no matter what happens, that whistleblower could be the most honest, forthcoming person. But it's not going to matter because there's going to be an underlying theme here by a lot of folks out there that will not believe a word he says, no matter what he says, or no matter what evidence is provided, because they already have it driven in their heads that this is part of some bigger conspiracy.
And it benefits the government either way. It's like I know some people say, I don't like this system, I don't vote. And people get mad. Okay? So you don't vote. Okay. There's some people who still vote. They may not have someone to vote for, so they pick the lesser of the two evils. Whether you vote or not, the government still wins. Yeah. And so this is the same here too. Whether people say it's a false flag and I don't believe it, or whether they say, my God, it's war of the worlds, the government is still, the people are going to look to the government to help them.
Yeah.
And that's where this is being set up. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway, I just wanted to chime in because we only got like 5 minutes left. But this is fascinating. You guys are awesome. Have a great rest of the show, and have a great night to everybody that's watching and enjoying.
Love you.
See ya.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
So, curious what you said about, leading up to terrorist, and then the final will be the.
Yeah, that's the way he had it lumped in, but we're seeing it now.
Well, what is he saying that when that happens, what is going to happen? What do you think? When we get to that point?
What she says basically, hold on. He was dying, The last card that was being held was the extraterrestrial enemy card. She's saying how he needed to know. Well, then it becomes, and they're not using this word, but it becomes this world order.
Okay.
It becomes this world order, this surveillance state. Well, you are ruled because the governments, or governments plural, they are all banding together.
Right.
So we need the surveillance. We don't need people like Deb and RJ and Bill doing this, Michael doing this subversive stuff. No, we're going to more authoritarianism. And he ought to know, he came out of the Third Reich.
Right.
And he said, as did the guy who was his mentor, he said, about all these rockets and the technology that Hitler had, he said, we had help from other worlds. And what was interesting is that, because we always think the blonde, blue-eyed folks are the really angelic ones and lovely, and you get different literature.
Right.
But he was saying that some of them, these Nordic people, were helping them, but they weren't all angelic and nice. They were helping these folks who were into genocide.
Well, it was another story was out there that they were actually a break off from the Palladian good people, and they didn't go, like the Romulans were in
Star Trek. Yeah.
So
I mean, it's so much.
Yeah.
It's so deep, and the rabbit hole goes so. But if you have your spiritual practice, you won't get thrown at least too far from this, because the people Bill was talking about, I guarantee you, most of them are not going inside, and so they're going to flip.
Right.
They're going to flip.
Yeah, they're going more toward the fear end of it, and that's what's going to cause
and they're being helped. They're being helped.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're being pushed.
Well, because it's a threat. It is a threat.
It's national security.
Well, to people who are in control, because they're going to have to give that up.
That's right. It's what Picard is. What Picard says. I posted that meme. You've seen it.
Yeah.
He says, national security.
I'm not going to be in control anymore.
The age-old cry of the oppressor.
Right.
Everything, you can do anything you want in this world, in this country, and all you got to do is say, it's for national security.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Well, what a great show, man.
I can't believe it. Is
it
over? No.
No. We got a couple minutes.
A few minutes. Yeah, we have like 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Bill said we have no minutes. Okay, we have 5 minutes. So okay, let me say this.
Yeah.
First of all, to the audience, Deb and RJ are the real deal. They are, as is Dr. Bill Forte. And I just want to say to you guys, who you take the time to do this, and the listeners, that these are the kinds of shows. These are whether I'm on it. I like to be on it, but this is what keeps us afloat. This is what keeps us going, and the energy is high. The vision is there of the world we'd like to have. And I just want to say thank you guys for listening. I want to say thank you to Deb and RJ for having us on.
It's our pleasure.
And, this is it. This is because as we go forward, you're going to need shows like this.
Yeah.
To keep you sane and to give you some information.
People are going to want answers.
Probably won't get from the mainstream media. I needed to get that out.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Great.
And tomorrow night at 8 p.m. is our show with Mary Bassett, Bill Konklowski, Reverend Michael Carter, and RJ and myself.
Voices
of Contact. And that's another show that, I think it goes right along with this. And it's so important for disclosure because it is experiencers who are being regressed and brave enough to allow that to go public. So truth is coming out. And I think that was my main point is, we're we all have to keep talking. We all have to stay in a place of love as much as possible.
Yes.
And out of that fear. So everybody tune in tomorrow night anyways. I know we're getting close here, but we have a few minutes to the Voices of Contact. And, we all love that show because I think it was you, Michael. I know we all talk about it, but they kind of named this year the year of the experiencer.
Yes.
And we're seeing it like crazy. Yes. Experiencers coming forward.
Out, man.
They're coming out and they're opening up. And, some of these regressions that we've listened to are very raw. And we've had some that are very painful. Yeah.
And it counters the narrative that we're getting from on high.
Right.
It counters it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It doesn't say they're wrong. We're just saying, well, we got another narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
check this out.
Many of them, come down to there are other beings working with us. So, not saying that all are, but many are.
Yes. And when you say you're not alone, that doesn't always have to be a scary thing.
Right. Exactly.
Nobody
likes to be alone anyway, right?
Yes. Okay. It could be a good thing. I like to be alone. I'm an introvert, but
no, you can't be alone.
Not for too long, but
you deal with a lot of people too. So
that's the thing.
Yeah.
So when I get some downtime,
you just need some peace time. Yeah, peace and solitude. Yeah, a little bit.
For sure. Well, I want to thank all of our listeners too. Without you guys, we wouldn't have a show. We wouldn't be here. So thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for being open. Thank you, Reverend Michael Carter. We love you to pieces.
I love you more.
And here comes producer Bill again.
We're going.
I know he has something to say.
We're gonna stop. We're gonna go a couple of minutes late.
Whoa.
I want people to just see the beginning. And this came out today. It happened on April 30th. Police body cam. We watched this earlier from Las Vegas. Mike, have you seen this yet?
Yes.
I mean,
saw it yesterday.
That's on a body cam. That is I'm just saying, that is
a
no
police
meteor coming down that slow. It could be a drone. I'm not saying it's drone. But this is actually quite interesting. Look at that thing.
Wow.
I love it.
That is no meteor.
That is no meteor.
So pay attention, folks. It's happening around us. I'm not saying necessarily without vetting this, but from a police body cam, that looks pretty interesting to say the least.
Absolutely.
Supposedly it landed in somebody's backyard and they saw the beans get out. So
that's what I heard.
Yep.
Yes. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with everybody because
I'm so
awesome,
glad
man. Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think now we have to go.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Love you guys.
Thank
you
all. Everybody have a fantastic
I'll call you
week.
tomorrow.
Until we meet again, may all of your awakenings be mystical. Keep your eyes to the skies. Love
Be
you.
safe, y'all.